Okay, this is your extra credit for the uh, SMAW process, shielded metal arc welding. I just, if you've watched the stick welding 7018 demo, and now you have a chance, if you finish that one, to get some extra credit. Okay, we're using the same weldament. We're using the same weldament. It is the T weldament, and so we're going to set it up the same way. We're going to set it up the same way. I am using the backside of the weldament from that previous demo. And so we're going to do a 2, 3, and now I'm on the backside doing a 2, and then we're going to do a 3. Okay? So the instructions are still the same, 2, 3, 2, 3. But we're using a different electrode. We're using E6010. Our settings are going to stay the same, 85 amps, but we're going to use a different, instead of a drag motion, we're going to use what is called a whip motion. A whip motion, which a stitch or a whip and pause. And so with the two pass, much like with the E7018, we're going to hold the electrode almost perpendicular to our weld, about 15 degrees in direction of travel. Instead of dragging the electrode, because our 6010 is not a high carbon or high hydrogen electrode, this is what we call a farmer's rod. This thing will burn through anything. It'll burn through rust, paint, just about anything that's out there. It'll strike an arc on just about anything. If it can pick up a current, it will strike an arc. So it'll burn through just about anything. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a whip motion. So you're going to go forward and then push back. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you are done, you should have an effect that looks like you've stacked some dimes along your weld. Okay? Same thing on a 2-pass as with the E7018. You want to make sure that as you're working your puddle, that the puddle is washing onto the two pieces of metal that are joining here. All right? You want to make sure that the puddle is whipping and connecting the two pieces of metal. If you're too far out, then you're not going to connect and you're going to have issues later. All right? So you want to get close enough so that as you're doing your stitch motion or your whip and pause, that you're connected. You don't want to get too close that the electrical current is going to your top piece of metal. You want it going to what we call your base metal here, but you want that puddle as the metal is melding to wash up onto this top piece of metal. All right? So, again, perpendicular, about 15 degrees in direction of travel. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'm over exaggerating my movements. You'll watch as I start welding. They won't be nearly as exaggerated as what I'm doing. I'm exaggerating for the benefit of the camera. But again, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you're pushing that puddle back up onto itself to create that stacked dime looked effect. You're going to see this is a much different burning, different sounding. And when you get into the welding booth, if you have the opportunity to weld with it, you'll see it even smells different than the 7018. All right. And so I'm going to do a 2-pass, and then I'm going to do a 3-pass for you as well with the 6010. Okay. And so here we go. We're going to start with the 2-pass. Again, I'm going almost perpendicular, and we're going to strike the arc. You don't want to get your puddle any bigger than your electrode. If it's getting bigger than your electrode, it means you're staying there too long. Not as much slag on the 6010 as there is on the E7018. Most of it you'll be able to get off. I'm just breaking the big chunks off. Most of it you'll be able to get off with your wire brush. There's a few stubborn chunks here and there. Okay, and you see how it's got that stacked dime look onto it there. Okay, if you can kind of see that there with your, all right? And that's what you're looking for. All right, so your next pass on your 2-pass weld, just like with your 7018, is going to be right at that top toe. Piece of slag right there. I'm break it off here with my, yeah, there we go. Is going to be right at the top toe. And again, this time we're going to be at the 45, just like we was with the 7018. We're going to be at a 45, and we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And we should have the same look that we had with the 7018. I should see all of this. I should see all of this one and about 2/3 of this one. Again, as with the 7018, my weld bead should be not much wider than my total electrode with the flux. Right? So here we go. At a 45-degree angle, and we're going to strike an arc. This electrode burns much hotter than my 7018. Again, you get that nasty looking weld against a junk electrode used for used mostly for pipeline and stuff like that. However, it's a very easy electrode to start a bead with, start an arc with. A lot of schools use it to start their students with. I like starting with the 7018. It's a little bit cleaner burning electrode. It's a little bit easier for the students to use. Okay. Okay, and I'll have one of these set up for you on the table as well. Okay. Let's see how well of a tack job I did. Pretty good. It broke right off. It broke right off. Okay, so on the back side here, on the back side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a 3-pass. We're going to do a 3-pass. And we're going to weld it all the way across. Okay, first one's going to be at a 45, and then a 45, and then a 45. Okay, and again, if you've got a junk piece of metal that you want to stick up underneath there, I'm not going to bother with one today. All right, so let's see what we can do. Or, since I've got this heavy thing here, I can just set that on it, and that'll hold it in place. And you'll notice it's got that nice stacked look effect to it. It's looking like everything's, the beads are stacked nice and neat. And again, as before, you'll notice I'm not, it doesn't sound like I'm trying to drive a 16-penny nail with my chipping hammer. Okay, that's your first on your 3-pass. Oh, trying to hold it there so you can see it. And again, I'll have one of these set up for you so you can see it. All right, I'm more interested in you seeing the technique. You'll be able to see what it looks like once you get here into the shop. All right, our second pass Can you guess where it's going to go? Think about it for a minute. Okay, if you said the toe of that first weld, the bottom toe, then you're correct. Yes, we're going to go at the bottom toe of that first weld. And again, we're at a 45-degree angle, about 10 to 15 degrees in direction of travel, and we're doing a stitch motion. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm just working it all the way down to the end of our weldment. Right? And when you're in the booth, make yourself comfortable. Get up on your stool. Set yourself up. I mean, you see how I have my arms set up here, kind of help holding my electrode. Don't try to hold it up here because you'll be too shaky. I don't care how young you are, you're going to be too shaky. Set your arm up, hold yourself steady. Okay, here we go. Okay. And this metal is getting flaming hot because, again, this 6010 burns a lot harder and a lot harsher than the 7018. And it's typically a good idea, although I haven't been doing it, it's a good idea to kind of keep your hood down whenever you're chipping because that slag's going to fly everywhere. And even though you have your safety glasses on, your safety glasses are just your first line of defense. Okay? Even when you're using your wire brush, it really is a good idea to just kind of keep your hood on. Okay. Now, normally I would take a wire wheel to this and work it real good with the wire wheel. All right, but because it's demonstration purposes, all right, I'm more interested in you seeing the process, all right, the technique. Okay. All right, this thing's hotter than blazes right now. So you see, if you look real close, right, if you look real close, I've got my second bead right here, right along the base here, right along the base here. Okay. So now I'm going to take my third bead. So we ran about 4 or 5 beads on here without cooling it. Normally I would have it in the quench tank by now. We're going to take our fifth one. We're going to run it right along here. Right along here. Okay. Again, 45-degree angle, 15 degrees in direction of travel. All right. And here we go. Okay, I've got quite a bit of slag on here. I would normally want to clean this up, get it all nice and shiny for you to look at. Okay, but it's really hot. I don't want to pick it up. I don't want to pick it up right now. Let's see if I've got a, yep, that one's not hot. Okay, but you can see the stacked dimes right along through here. Right, I'm seeing about a third or so of my bottom weld, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. It's real dirty. That's why you usually don't use your 6010 as a cap on your welds. Usually, if I was capping this, I would buff it all out with the buffer, and then run a couple of cap passes of 7018, because the 7018 is going to leave a nicer cap weld on it. Okay, but again, I will have these weldments waiting for you on the table in segments. One pass all the way, second pass about 2/3 of the way, third pass about halfway, and then the same thing with the two pass. One pass all the way, second pass all the way, so forth and so on. Okay? Any questions? Email me. This is Clark. I'll see you in the booth. I'm out.